Hi everyone, welcome to Mrs. Shin's class. Today, let's go over sums and product of roots. Okay, let's go at finding the root of this equation. You could either factorize it or use quadratic formula to calculate the roots, right? For this one, I used factorization to calculate the roots, so therefore my roots will be... Okay, so far that's going to be straightforward. Now let's have a think about it. Today's lesson is sum and product of the roots. Alright, so here are my roots. Here are my roots. I'm going to add them and I'm going to multiply them and see what I get. Alright, if I add them, it's going to be 4. If I multiply them, it's going to be -5. Okay, do you see any numbers of these in the question? So that 4, okay, it's different sign, but it's the coefficient of x, right? And -5, that's a constant, right? -5. Oh, is it a coincidence? Shall we have a look? Okay, this time let's have a go at finding the roots for this one. We use quadratic formula this time, okay? The coefficient of x squared is a, the coefficient of x is b, 5, and the constant c. Okay, there you go. I'm just going to substitute all these values in like this. And remember, you're writing all those equations steps, but you're going to use calculator to get the answer. Alright, where do we need to go? Equation, right? So I'm going to press the 8. So using the cursor, oops, there you go, 8. Right, this is polynomial over here, F2. Right, what is my highest power? It's squared, so my highest power is 2. Okay, what's my ABC? My ABC here is 1, 5, and 2. So I'm just going to enter 1, 5, and 2. Okay, I'm going to press enter. Right, I get decimals. Okay, I get the 2 solutions, 2 roots. Okay, 1 here, 1 there for this equation. Alright, like the question above, okay, I'm going to try adding the roots together and multiply the roots together and see if I get similar numbers like this. So if I add the roots for these two, I would get -5. And let's see what I get by multiplying it. I got 2. Okay, so adding it together, -5, right here. From the equation, I see it, the coefficient of x, but again, opposite sign. And when I multiply the roots together, I get the c value exactly the same, including the sign, right? So comparing with the question above, right, if I add the roots, I get a coefficient of x, but in opposite sign, because here it's -4, but I got the answer 4. Whereas if I multiply them, I get exactly the same constant, including the sign. Here I get the same coefficient, but different sign, and the same sign, exactly same number with the constant. Okay, so there you go. This is what the sum and product of the roots about. So this is a rule. But what's the same of the 2 questions that we have done? Did we have any coefficient in front of x squared? Over here? No, it was all 1, right? So let's see if it's the same if I really have a coefficient in front of the x squared. Okay, let's have a go at doing this question. Same, I'm going to use the quadratic formula to calculate the roots. Okay, doing so, I get the 2 roots. Right, let's try adding them and multiplying them. Alright, by adding the roots and multiplying the roots, this time I get 3 and 0.5. Alright, let's have a look. This should be the coefficient of x with different opposite sign, right? This should be the constant. But let's have a look. 3, ooh, I have -6. Whereas 0.5, it's +1 here. When I had a coefficient in front of the x squared, right, I didn't really get the same number that I was after, right? So let's have a go and make the coefficient 1. So what happens if I divide this by 2 and get rid of it? So if I divide it by 2 to each term, okay, and make this equation like this, well, what do you see? Yep, this is the same. 3 is over here with the opposite sign, tick. 0.5, same number including the sign, it's over here, tick. So now we know that when the coefficient of x squared is 1, we know that sums and product of the roots works, okay? So let's put that into the formula. Okay, here you go. I have a quadratic equation, okay? In order to make the sum and product rule works, right? What am I going to do is I'm going to eliminate a by dividing a in each term, right? A over a will be 1, b over a, c over a, okay? Okay, and say the solution, the roots, the x values, okay, of this one is alpha and beta. So remember this equation, okay? My two roots were 5 and -1. This could be alpha and beta, right? You could say K, W, or any other letters, but I'm just going to use alpha and beta. Okay, so I'll say the roots. I'll get two roots, alpha and beta. So if I add them, what happened? Yep, it's going to be the coefficient of the x, b over a, but it was opposite sign, right? So I'm just going to add one negative in front. Okay, and the product of them will be c over a as it is, right? Because it's going to be the constant in the equation. Okay, so this will be the general rule. So x squared plus sum of the roots goes in here, followed by x, and plus the product of roots would lie in here. Okay, this is the general rule for sum and the product of the roots, and you need to remember this. So there you go. Please write this down in your book. Now we're going to apply this in other questions. Okay, so let's have a go. Okay, so this is the equation. One of the roots of the equation below, this one, x squared plus bx plus 24 equals 0 is 6. So one root that we do not know, but the other one is 6. The question is asking us to find the b over here. Alright, so let's have a go. How can we solve this one? Right, remember this one. So sum of the roots goes here with the opposite sign. We manually put negative there. And product of the roots over here, right? So this means I know alpha is 6, but I don't know what the beta is. Right. Sum of them and putting negative would be the value b. Whereas if I multiply them, okay, and it will be over here, the constant, right? So therefore, if I multiply them, I should get 24. Do you see where I'm coming from? So if I multiply these two, I should get the constant including the sign, positive 24. Oh, that means what would be my beta? 4, right? 6 times 4 will be 24. So now I know that beta is 6, alpha is 6, and beta is 4. Okay, now I need to find b, which is the sum of the roots with the opposite sign. So let's have a go at adding those two. Okay, it will be 10 by adding it, but remember, right, I add them and manually included a negative sign to make it opposite sign and put it here, right? So therefore, I'm going to manually put minus there, okay? And that one would be the value b. Okay, so if I rewrite the equation, it will be like this, right? So your final answer, because it was asking the value of b, it's negative 10. Okay? So coming back to the rule, right? So general rule is x squared, that has to be 1 always, plus you're going to add the sign, add the roots, manually put negative, and I'm going to put it there. So whatever sum of the root you get, just put negative and put it in front over here as a coefficient of x, and whatever the product you get, just put it in here as a constant, and that will be the general rule. So from the question, either this part is missing or this part will be missing. Okay, and it's going to ask you to calculate the value. So this is how you use the sum and the product rules. Okay, so let's have a go at doing this question. Right, this time it's asking for the value c. Okay, what do you need to do? I know that one root is negative 4, right? That means my alpha is negative 4 and beta is unknown yet, right? Okay, here you go. Remember the rule. Have a look. The coefficient should be 1, but is my coefficient 1 in the equation? No. So first thing is I need to divide each term by 3. Okay, so there you go. This was the original one. I divided by 3, so now it's 1, 5 over 3, and c over 3. Okay, at this stage, what we know is one root is negative 4, and beta is unknown yet, right? Let's follow the rule. Okay, if I add them, it should be this one, right? So it should be 5 over 3, but remember manually I'm going to put negative sign over here. Putting manually negative sign over there. Okay, then it's all numbers. I can find what the beta is. Okay, it's going to be 7 over 3. So in here, my beta will be now 7 over 3. Right, then I can find this value, because this value represents the product of the roots, right? Okay, there you go. If I multiply the roots, I get negative 28 over 3, whereas over here, it's c over 3, and that value has to be exactly the same, because the product of the root just comes down as it is, like that, without any sign getting changed. So therefore, what will be my c value? C value has to be negative 28. Okay, my c value has to be negative 28. Okay, in the question, it asked to find the value of c. Therefore, that will be your final answer. Okay? Okay, now let's try a little bit harder question. Okay, it's exactly the same. It's saying that one root is 2. Okay, and equation is given, and it's asking us to find the value of q. Right, what do you need to do first? Obviously, I need to rearrange the equation. Okay, there you go. I rearranged the equation. And now it says one of the root is 2. Okay, that means alpha is 2, whereas beta I do not know yet. Okay, what's the next thing that I need to do? I need to check whether the coefficient in front of x squared is 1. In this case, yes, it's 1, so therefore I don't need to divide it by anything, by a. Okay, so this is as it is. So that means if I add those two values and manually include a negative sign, it will be this one. And if I multiply them, it will be the coefficient, right? Remember, sum of these two should be this value, but I should manually add a negative sign. And the product of the roots should be 10, the constant as it is, right? So let's have a go at finding out the beta. I can use the second one, the product rule, to find out the beta. So 2 times something is 10. So obviously beta should be 5. Okay? By using that information, I can look back at the sum. 2 plus beta should be this, but beta is 5. So therefore, like this, Q has to be 7 over 3. In the question, it was asked us to find out the value Q. So therefore, yes, we have found the solution. Okay, shall we check whether this is true? So it will be a good tip for you to use it in the exam. So here's my equation. Right, so I now know that Q, which is 7 over 3, I'm going to insert it here. So 3 times 7 over 3, x plus 10, which I wrote down over here, right? So if I simplify, it's going to be like this. Now I'm going to put it back into the calculator and see what roots I get. Remember from the above equation, I found out that alpha is 2 and beta is 5. So by doing so, I should get the same roots. Okay, I'm going to equal, right? Polynomial, highest degree is 2. Okay, my A is 1, B is negative 7, C is 10, enter, enter. There you go. You see that I get 2 roots, 5 and 2. Okay, so I have checked that this is the correct solution. Okay, so today's lesson was about sums and product of the root. Okay, so if you just follow this formula, it'll be easy for you to do the questions. So have a go at doing the rest of the questions. I'll post up the solutions on the Google Classroom. So have a go. Then I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.